What's Cooking Wednesday, guys? We are back with a brand new episode in a brand new old deck. Brand new old? All right, so we are taking a look at Macro Monarch, played by Peyton Janes out of Georgia. It has been a little while since he's played this deck, but he did go undefeated when he played it. So it's one of those decks that it either runs really, really hot and you're going to have a good day, or things are not going to go like you want them to, and it's going to be a rough day, right? That is the ultimate case with Macro. So let's talk a little about his deck list. So he is on triple Caius the Shadow Monarch, double Cyber Dragon. The Cyber Dragon is an interesting choice because, you know, DD Survivors, DD Scout Planes do come back. However, I guess if you don't see those, Cyber Dragon does give you that monster you can just special and then tribute for a Monarch. So he is on double DD Scout Plane. I know he was back and forth on whether or not he should play Gold Sarcophagus in this deck. I think ultimately he went without playing it and playing the heavy instead, and just opting for, I'm going to clear the back row and just push in for game with my Monarchs at some point, so let me play the heavy. Then we have the rest of our DD package here. So we have double DD Scout Plane, triple DD Survivor, and 2 DD Warrior Lady. He said the DD Warrior Lady was absolutely amazing in the deck and did great every game that he drew it. He said it was a very good card for clearing the board. He's a big fan of DD Warrior Lady. And then to close out the rest of the Monarch package, he played a 1 of Mobius, triple Ryza, and 1 of Thestalos. And then we have Brain Control, triple Dimensional Fissure, Heavy Storm, Mystical Space Typhoon, Reinforcement of the Army to search out your DD Warrior Ladies or your DD Survivors, and 2 Soul Exchanges just for the extra tributes, just in case you can't get the macro engine going, right? The D-Fissure macro engine going with Survivor and Scout Plane. You have the backup plan for your Monarchs. We have double Bottomless Trap Hole, double Dark Bribe to protect, double Dimensional Prison, triple Macro Cosmos, 1 Mirror Force, return from the different dimension. I'm assuming this is here because, well, you can swarm the field with Monarchs if your Monarchs get banished, and these are pretty big in Edison Format. 2400s are big. DD Warrior Lady being able to come back as a spot removal is pretty good. Basically, anything and everything that has been banished during the game, thanks to D-Fissure and Macro, can come back. And also things that got bottomless, etc. It makes sense. And then we have Solemn Judgment. You know, Solemn Judgment is Solemn Judgment. And then Starlight Road to help protect our back row and get free Stardust Dragons. And then, of course, Torrential Tribute, because your monsters, the Survivors, the Scout Planes, all come back if you have Macro face up. So if you Torrential and clear the field, it's overall just a good play. So for the side deck, though, this is where it gets a little interesting. I want to say interesting because he has triple Breaker. I'm assuming this is for in case he runs into things that are heavy siding in Decrees. And also Breaker in and of itself is just a 1900 beater, so he's a pretty good card for crashing into things. We have a double Book of Moon. I'm assuming these are here for synchro plays to help deal with the divas and stuff like that. You book so they can't synchro and make the game increasingly difficult for them. Lightning Vortex for those aggro matchups. Noblemen of Crossout to deal with Rykos and decks that just set. And also for, I'm assuming, Frogs when they just like set up a Duke Frog or set up the Substitute in defense mode. And just you don't swing into it until you see a Nobleman or a Monarch to get rid of it because your guys are too small, or DD Warrior Lady. So it just gives you another option there. Double Dust Tornado to help deal with even more back row, just like the macros. No, not the macros, the breakers here. Dust Tornado helps you play through pulling the rugs, which he is on triple pulling the rug because he does not want to lose to Monarchs and Divas and the likes. A solo Mind Crush here. Pretty good when you're making them banish whatever the card is. And then an extra Starlight Road for Light Sworn, Icarus Attack, etc. The Celestia plays, things that are able to pop 2 and get rid of your macros and D-Fissures. And for the extra deck, he said it does not matter. The only thing that matters is playing 2 Chimera Tech for your 2 Cyber Dragons and 2 Stardust for your 2 Starlight Road. The other ones, you just put whatever you want in here. You can throw Dark End Dragon, whatever assortment of cards you think if you activate Brain Control and take a tuner might give you, right? So I know he did go undefeated with this deck, sweeping the tournament when he played it. He said DD Warrior Lady was like MVP. It caught a lot of people off guard because they didn't expect it in Macro, since Macro already has a bunch of Banish. Again, though, I do feel that Macro is one of those decks that it has to be running hot, right? You need that good weekend. You need that good tournament. I say weekend, whatever day of the week it is, Thursday, Friday, whatever day you're playing. You need that good tournament run in order for the deck to perform well, because Macro can break, right? And this deck has a lot of tributes. It does have the soul exchanges to help out with that. This is what, 3, 6, 8 gauge Monarch, technically 8 gauge Monarch, right? If anybody remembers when we used to have like 12 gauge Monarch and stuff like that back in the day. So this is an 8 gauge Monarch deck, locked, loaded, ready to go. Ryza helps you stack the opponent's stuff on top of the deck to lock them down and stop their plays. So I have always been a fan of Macro. We've used it throughout the years. Me and him both have played it various times throughout our lives. I believe his first almost regional top ever was a couple formats before Edison. It was right after the Gladiator Beast had just come out. So, like, they had just come out. Like, it was just Heraclinos and Laquari and a couple of them. It wasn't all of them. Geyseris did not exist yet. And he ended up, like, the final round of that regional playing against another person from our locals also playing Macro. And I specifically remember this because this was when Solemn Judgment was at 3. And basically the game was won on the back of a Mirror Force that got Solemned into Solemn into Solemn and like into Solemn to like just totally get it out. And that's how he ended up losing that game in the mirror match, was like they both had double Solemn set or something along those lines. I mean, it's been like 14 years since this has happened, so don't hold it against me if I'm completely incorrect, but I do remember it being something like double Solemn on both sides on a Mirror Force play, and he was able to lose because of that, and he bubbled out of the top 8, and the other player did get top 8 with the Macro deck. And this was also, as far as I know, the first time Gladiator Beast had ever topped anything ever. Like I said, it was a new deck at the time. Shout outs to David Odysseus Gordon, if anybody remembers him. He also topped Shonen Jump Championship Atlanta in like 08, 09, whenever it was Shrink. He topped that Shonen Jump Championship. I think it was Shrink. It might have been Cyberstein still. Pretty sure it was Shrink. Pretty sure it was Shrink. He topped that Shonen Jump, but he topped that same regional where this earlier build of Macro Monarch topped. He topped that regional with Gladiator Beast using like triple Rescue Cat, the defensive tactics, Wabakus. Basically, it was a deck that he had worked on with a guy locally. The guy locally was like, these are going to be good cards. People are crazy. This is before like Geyseris had been revealed. Like, we didn't know about it. And yeah, so it was like the first ever top with Glad Beast. And this was when Heraclinos was still like a $10 secret rare. And we tried to pick them up after he topped the regional with it, but we could not find any. But anyway, just a throwback there. Going down memory lane of the times that we've used Macro in tournament. That is one that stuck out to me that day. So I think I played Soul Control Monarch. He played Macro Monarch, and it was a fun day of dueling in a shopping mall in South Georgia somewhere, or mid Georgia, whatever you want to call it. It was around like Warner Robins or Macon, Georgia, somewhere down that way. A very, very long time ago. I am an old man. But shout outs to our boy Peyton James for playing this deck in Edison format. Once again, all these years later, he wanted to play Macro, and he did go undefeated with the deck. This is a pretty standard build, I'd say. A lot of people don't play Scout Planes as often. You'll see Cyber Valley in the deck. It really... A lot of different little variations, tech cards here and there. I know the guy who plays it locally here in Rome plays Cyber Valleys in his build. You can check out his list over on Instagram. That was actually the inspiration for me wanting to share this list, because this list went undefeated, whereas the other guys just got top 4 like a week ago, and then he got top 8 on Sunday. So I wanted to share my friend, my homie, my day one, you know, whatever you want to call him, his macro list that he went undefeated with himself. At locals, I'll say that. It wasn't like a bigger Edison thing. It was local still, but to go undefeated with macro is pretty cool nonetheless. And congratulations to everybody. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and are you a fan of Macro Cosmos? Let me know in the comments below.